jump in this thing and see what it'll do.
Ready to rock this, bro?
Oh, hell yeah. So if you're a car guy, you will find yourself while you're sitting on the pooper or preoccupied with something else, just scouring Marketplace just to see what is out there. Regardless if you need something or not, curiosity gets the best of you. I came across an ad that said 1974 Dodge Charger, rusty parts car. And I'm like, well, I definitely don't need one of those. But it was only 4 miles away from me. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just go look at this thing. So we drive over there and presto, this guy right here This here is, in fact, a 1974 Dodge Charger, the fuselage type. This was Richard Petty's winningest body style in his entire career. Just something about the slickness as it, just flew through the air. Although, as a street car, I was never really fond of them. As a race car, these things are pretty bitchin' looking, but street car, I don't know. I never really cared for them, but as the years have gone on, I've started to become a little bit more fond of, a little bit more appreciative of what the 74 Chargers have to offer. They have a few more luxuries and have improved on a few little things over the years on the B-bodies. Let's check it out. Now, did I say improvements? Now, technically, this right here could have been called an improvement, but they're just so ugly. Those are the 5-mile-an-hour bumpers. These were designed to bump off of cars without damaging the car, and was required by government regulations, mandates. Again, the light up side markers, which were enforced in 70 and carried on into 73, 74, but at least the 71s were recessed. So this was recessed into the body, but as soon as we get to 2, 3, 4, oh, they started poking out like a big old ugly booger. Would you look at the meat on this thing? These must be 20-mile-an-hour bumpers on the back, but no, again, 5-mile-an-hour. But look at the standoff on those things. Another detriment to the 74 Charger. Hi, Bolt. He has to plop his butt on me. Yeah, hi, buddy. He just walked up. Say hi, Bolt. Say what's up. Of course, the red accent on the 73, 74 Chargers is not that bad. It kind of breaks up the uglier grille and makes it look more racy. 73, 74 Chargers were known to ride better though. They did some, I wouldn't call them racing upgrades, but some comfort upgrades. 73, 74 Chargers then saw the introduction of isolators on between the K-frame and the frame rail to dampen some of those road vibrations for a little bit more luxury comfort. Even the transmission crossmember has some luxury comfort upgrades, which is the isolated crossmember mount. So even then, the 74 Charger rides even smoother. Takes some of that engine harmonics out of the body. Another road comfort item here, the isolated leaf spring mount. This will take away some of the road vibrations and leave you with comfort. Hi, Bolt. Hi, buddy. Can I get back to work now? Okay, Bolt. I got to explain to the peoples what's going on. But wait a tick. What do I see here? That is a rear sway bar. That's not standard. This must be an upgraded model. Performance. This is in fact an SC 74 440 Charger U code. See that U right there in the VIN? That means this is in fact one of the original rare 440 U code Chargers. Now 440s were kind of getting ruled out by 74. They were still available in like your C bodies, your Imperials, your, you know, all the big bodied cars that needed some grunt to help them get down the road. But as for your mid-size cars, these were kind of getting pushed to the wayside and really just saved for trucks and Newports and all that stuff, and even some 440 motorhomes. But this car was in fact one of the survivors. Now, unlike some of these Mopar reality TV shows, you know, graveyard cars, where, you know, they turn, as soon as the camera turns on, you know, he's just an encyclopedia of Mopar knowledge. Well, when the camera's off, he does his research. So I'm not going to fool you guys. I'm not an expert on 74 Chargers, and I don't know everything. I have to research stuff. But in 74, the total production of 74 Chargers was 74,000, ironic, 376. So there was shit tons of these guys made. Although, let's break it down, shall we? Now, SC Chargers, which this is an SE. But this is an SE with the big cojones. And of SEs, they made 36,399, but that's all SEs. Now, 74 Chargers with the 440 engine, they made 834. So only 834 74 Chargers with that drivetrain were ever produced. Now, you can break it down more and go, well, how many were made with a sunroof SE 440? How many were made with a sunroof SE 440 power windows? Okay. How many were made with sunroof SE 440 power windows rally gauges? Okay. How many were made with sunroof SE 440 power windows rally gauges console buckets? See how it starts to break down and starts to become more rare? But then, how many were made with sunroof SE 440 power windows rally gauges console buckets and a special ordered 999 paint code? So that meant this car was special ordered with this dark blue metallic color, along with all of its goodies. That fender tag is completely full, and it even branched over into a second one because they done run out of room of options on this thing. I mean, AC, disc, well, I think disc brakes was kind of standard in 74. I believe it was. Actually, yeah, 73 saw the introduction to disc brakes being standard. But with the AC and the full 40, we got the 28-inch radiator. See, and I know this is the original hood because of that rare color. And we know it's got a Holly because of the sticker. That's another 5 horsepower. But then we can go over here and looky there, the emissions control information, engine 440 RB family. Ka-chow. So this color must have been real pretty when it was new. It's just a dark blue metallic. I believe it's like a JB9 or something like that. I was told, because again, I don't know these cars that well, and in 70, pretty much my interest in Mopars kind of petered out at 71. And even 71 was kind of iffy. But this color was supposedly only available for C bodies. So this was like your luxury C body, dark, you know, I'm powerful color. And this guy wanted it. Plus, we have white interior to match that dark blue with a white top. See, this used to have, well, this is kind of like a toupee kind of, you know, the vinyl top didn't go all the way to the back. It kind of stopped right here and then went all the way forward. But all sunroof cars had vinyl tops because you had to, you know, cover up this hole easy. But you can see there's some white there. And on the fender tag, it will tell you it was white. So all of them goodies together, kind of a cool car, you know. Granted, in 74, the 440s only made like, I want to say it was 220 horsepower, I think. I could be wrong. Again, 74s pretty much past any performance engine past 71, you know, they just neutered them. And so I didn't really care to research too much into it because I know they were neutered. They took all the compression, took cam out of it, just, you know. But this thing here may be upgraded because Hooker Super Comp headers, Hush Thrush performance mufflers, flared out quarter panels, Holly carburetor. I was told 74 SE 440 cars would have had a 355 Sure Grip differential in it. So that's something to look forward to. Of course, the build sheet is not in the back seat. And the fender tag will not tell you what gear is in it. So we'll have to jack her up in the air and check on that to see what this old girl's got under its behind. My goal, I want to get this thing running and driving. This is a pretty cool car, and I would like to take it to Duct Tape Drags if the opportunity becomes available. I don't really have a whole lot of money to splurge. I mean, when I bought this thing, I really shouldn't. But how can you turn down a 74 U-Code 440 power window, sunroof, buckets, rally gauge, all the stuff I had just done spewed out on this car? How could you turn this car down for $1,300? That's right, $1,300 is what I loaded this car on the trailer for. He was asking 14. I got him down $100. However, there's a reason it was cheap. We have no idea if this thing runs or not. So obviously it's had an engine fire because everything is crispy and burnt up. All the wiring, even the cowl vent cover is schmelty. Battery cables burned up. Everything electrical under the hood is schmelty. Even the heater hose shutoff cable. See? It's all crispy. It looks like Freddy Krueger's face. Yep, everything under the hood of this car is Krugered out. Although, it wasn't a very serious fire, and the hood must have been open when it happened. I'm thinking it was a fuel fire that they had probably extinguished, because look, the hood's not burnt. Yes, it's got some black soot marks on the bottom of the hood, but overall it looks like the fire was just contained right in this area. So we've got to see what needs replaced, what I can do to get this thing running and driving. I don't want to do it right here in the dirt because I'm going to have to crawl underneath it. We're going to push it forward onto what little bit of concrete pad I have right here. And then we can start plugging away at it and seeing if this 440's got some life in it. I'm pretty sure it runs, because if it had a fuel fire, either they were trying to get it running or it was running, you know. So I have faith that this thing will go vroom vroom through those hush thrush mufflers. What do you think about a 74 Charger, Derek?
Oh, I don't know. There's nothing that special about it, but
Nothing that special. These cars are the epitome of technology in 1974 with all the upgrades. And I even just noticed that it looks like the frame rails are double walled in the front. So that's going to make the structure of the car even better. And maybe that is what contributed to Richard Petty winning all of those races. You know, this is Richard Petty's most winningest car.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So maybe we can make it a winning car for me. Like, when you know you're getting ready to start a project, you kind of just look at it, it's like, all right, where do I start? I think first thing first is I'm gonna rip all the burnt electrical out from under. Actually, we're just gonna rip all the harness out from under the hood, because I bought a used headlight harness and engine harness from Byron Fettig up in North Dakota. He sells a lot of Mopar parts. So I'll go ahead and link his number on here in case you guys ever need parts. But good dude, he's probably stripped out hundreds and hundreds of Mopars. Luckily, he had what I needed because it was cheap, so I bought it. So we're gonna rip all that out, and then I think we're going to check on the distributor. We're gonna make sure the engine rotates a little bit, so we'll do that. And of course, there's nothing in the distributor. There's not a cap, there's not a, hell, there's not even, oh, the base plate's not even, oh, that rotates a lot. Is it not? Oh, it's not even in. Okay. I think we're gonna find another distributor. Oh yeah, the pieces are falling out of it. Upon inspection of that ID pad right there, this shows that it is a 1976 truck 440. Obviously not the original engine. Plus, it looks like I see some markings right here. It looks like, that looks like junkyard markings that says OK 440. At one point, someone pulled an OK 440 out of a 76 Dodge pickup. I'm gonna go ahead and bar the crank over, see if I can get this thing to rotate. Because if it doesn't spin, we're gonna in for a lot more work. I was like, yes, it's got a solid fan. I can just spin the fan over. But then, you know, the belts are so old that there's no grip left. So back to the crankshaft, which that's supposed to be a clutch fan. That's not original. Neither is this massive honking huge alternator. So this must have been out of like a dually or something to have that larger size alternator that ran all the extra cab lights and all that extra electricalness. So these cars definitely didn't have that massive alternator on there. Derek's gonna go ahead and get it up in the air. We found a dipstick to replace the dipstick. Is there any oil in it? Nothing? Bone dry, huh?
Yeah.
Did you wipe that dipstick off before you stuck it in?
Yeah. I didn't use the wire wheel it.
Oh, okay. I'll just make sure he didn't stick a dirty dipstick inside the engine.
No, it wasn't
So
dirty.
there's no oil in this thing at all.
No, bone dry.
I wonder if it leaks. You know what? I think we'll use some of my useless NASCAR oil to see if this thing will build oil pressure. It's like 0-10 weight, so maybe we'll just go get some straight 50 weight and dilute it.
Bone dry, dude.
Bone dry? Alright. Well, I'm going to get this alternator bracket off. And then we got to go get a battery. So before we go start pulling things out of the engine, I pulled the oil pressure gauge off the back, or the sensor, and there's a lot of dirt around the distributor hole. So we're going to clean up around that and clean up around where the gauge is at. So then we can see if we can prime the engine, and I'm going to put a mechanical gauge on it so I can watch it. Go ahead and turn her on, Derek. You suck up all the rat turds. Getting ready to go get a battery and some goodies for this car. And I just thought I'd mention, I mean, again, look at that fender tag. And then it branches off into the other one because of all the options this thing has. And we haven't even looked at the interior. Mint doors. But it is power windows, which power windows is cool when they work. But when they're not working, they suck because you can't get the window down to steer the car if you got to roll it or whatever. But luckily there's no windshield, so I was able to reach in and steer it that way. I already had to before I could even load this car on the trailer from the guy that I bought it from, I had to take the steering column apart just so I can get the key ignition out so I would be able to steer the car onto the trailer. But it gave me time to admire the dash on this, the rally gauges with the AC and the AM FM radio. You can see the FM numbers on the bottom and the AM numbers on top. I don't know how you switch it on this. I guess it's one of these buttons here. I don't know. I have to look into that, but that's cool, you know. And I like that it's a slapstick automatic, so we just bring that down and go, oh wait, no, is that not? Oh, okay, no, okay, it is. It just wasn't. The linkage is kind of a little gummy, but that's pretty cool. We got the console, we got the bucket seats. Oh, where'd this guy fall off of? Must have been off one of the sides. You know, we got the white high back seats. And you know, this car was listed as a rusty parts car, but the only rust is that rear floorboard right there. That's it. I can easily patch that. The rest of this car, not rusty. Oh, there's that massive alternator. But it's actually a pretty good freaking car. There's that sunroof. Here's the hand crank for the sunroof, but it's kind of sticky. Like, I don't want to break anything up there. Like, I need to spray a bunch of that PB blaster up around the track so I can see if I can get that thing to work again. And I thought, oh crap, it's missing the upper door, because this is an SC car, so it would have had the wood grain upper door panel, you know. And I thought, oh crap, that whole door panel over there is missing. But when we got the trunk open, those missing panels. Well, let's get these seats out of here, huh? You want to grab the other one, Derek? I was like, ka-chow, here it is, the Brougham SC. Here's the upper door panels, and look, they're not in that bad a shape at all. The plastics are, I mean, they're plastic, of course, but see, look at this trunk pan. This is like a rotted freaking body. No, pretty sweet. Wow, these cars are much heavier than the 68 to 70 Chargers. They're not 5,500 pounds, no. This car's probably, actually, no, we'll have to scale this thing when we get it on the ground again, but I bet you this car is like 4,000 pounds. All right, battery time. You know, I got to thinking, I'm like, you know, if this thing doesn't have any oil pressure, maybe I can save myself from having to buy a battery. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can't build oil pressure first. And one thing you gotta do, there we go, you gotta pull the oil pump drive gear out, which is also what drives the distributor. So That side oil pump, this side distributor. We're gonna pull that guy out. We got this rod. This is a priming tool for Mopars. Shove this guy down in there. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, here I have some Royal Purple racing oil. This stuff is like from, I want to say, the mid-90s when my buddy was racing NASCAR Craftsman trucks. They would use lightweight oil for qualifying, and then they would change the oil for the race. So he had cases and cases of this lightweight Royal Purple oil, which I have no use for, but it was free, so I took it. And we will actually see if this thing will even run. And I think I'm just gonna go ahead and fill up the engine from right here. So we're gonna put 4 quarts in this thing, and then we're gonna prime it and see what it does. Bloop, 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 bloop. Plus we gotta see where did all the other oil go? Well, nothing yet. All right, well, quart 2. So, as long as this guy here goes up, we're gonna go get a battery for it. And this is super thin weight oil. This is like 0 weight, so it might not get a lot of oil pressure. There it goes. Oh, right away! Oh man. Let's see what it does on low speed. Wait, wrong way. Low speed. Man, 50 pounds on low speed with 0 weight oil in it. I think this thing is good. Right on. All right, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna rotate the engine a little bit. And so as I'm rotating, I'm gonna rotate the crankshaft, and Derek's gonna hold the drill. So that way all the orifices on the camshaft will line up to the rockers, and it'll hopefully send oil to the rest of the engine, because sometimes the orifices got to line up just right to create the magic of lubricating. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. Keep going. I can see how the oil pressure changes when it finally hits an orifice. Welcome to the bottom side of this 74 Charger with my Hush Thrush mufflers right here. Well, I went ahead, while I was walking past the car, and I was like, oh, let's see if it's got a sure grip in it. And so I spun one drum, and the other drum spun the same direction, which if it had an open diff, and I spun one drum, you know, say clockwise, the other drum would have spun counterclockwise, because the car's in park right now. But what I'm curious, it's got a sure grip, but what gear does it have? Supposedly these came with 355s. So I went ahead and drew a line on the yoke to the third member, and I drew a line on the drum to the backing plate, and I'm going to count how many turns it takes to do 1 revolution on the wheel. So 1, 2, 3, still not lined up yet. 3 1/4. Oh, and it is true. The drive shaft spun 3.5 times to 1 time on the drum. So we do in fact have a 355 sure grip, which is going to be awesome for putting all of the low 220 horsepower from that 440 to the ground. Ugh. Yeah, whenever you're going to take a valve cover off, you always want to blow the dirt off around it. Because I'm getting ready to stab a distributor in, but I want to see where the valves are at, where the rocker arms are at. So I want to get number 1 top dead center. So what I'll do is I'll watch the intake valve come down, go back up, and then wherever it lines up on the balancer at 0, that's top dead center. So that's what I'm shooting for. And I have to get all these goofy wing nuts. I hate these things on valve covers. I mean, they were cool at one point, but I'd rather just have bolts now. And luckily for me, it has half of these and half bolts. And look at the amount of silicone that someone has put on this valve cover. All the way around. Man, they made a birthday cake of silicone around this valve cover. It looks like, you know, the poofy edge around a cake, and the extra little around it. Oh man, that is crunchy. Crunchy, crunchy. Junk pile. Ow, God! Oh, that fucking. Oh, man. Oh, I just smashed the shit out of that finger. God. It like totally broke the fingernail in half to where it's just bleeding right out of the middle of the nail. Stupid car. How did it do that? Ugh. Man, that's just gonna throb for a while. But look at, here's the goods. So underneath that valve spring, I see copper washers. So I see one there. So that tells me that at one point, these cylinder heads have had some work done to them, which is a good thing. And someone actually put forth the effort to set the spring height, or set the seat pressure at spring height. So, you know, of course they're still stock-ish springs, so I doubt it's got a big cam in it, and especially being stock intake manifold. But that's kind of good news. I wonder what cylinder heads it has on it. Okay, so one would hope to see 915s on it, because that would have been higher compression, or at least it would have bumped, you know, 7.8 to 8.2 or something, or 8.3. But no, it's got 452s on it, which is kind of good in a way, because at least it's already set up to run unleaded gas. So we're not going to burn any valves. We're not going to do anything. It already has hardened seats on it, and so that's the only good thing. Besides, the cylinder heads potentially have been having some work done to it. So I'm going to rotate the engine over and get it to where the #1 intake valve goes down, comes back up, and then I'm going to look at the balancer to get it at 0, and that's where I'm going to stab the distributor in and aim the pointer at numero uno. And I've got dug through my stash, and I have got this Proform Faux 40 distributor. Gonna slap a cap and rotor on that, put some new plugs in it, some wires, hook up the battery cables, see if we can't get this thing to bark on starting fluid. Then we will go forward with fuel pump and all that stuff. See, if you notice all the fresh royal purple oil on top of the rockers, that's because we spun the engine over. But I need to get this one to go down and come back up. There it goes. Down. This might have a tiny cam in it, because it seemed like the valve stayed open for a second. I was hoping for really good news. So far, 6 were good news, and then number 6 was bad news, and this one's good news. So this is what spark plug's supposed to look like. They look good, right? You know, nice tan tip. You know, it's a little dark around the base of the carburetor, or base of the spark plug, which meant it was a tad bit rich, but not terrible. This is what you call a bad scenario. Yeah, so the tip is touching the electrode, and then it's just oily and grimy, and so it was not running on this cylinder for a while. So that, and I think the threads might be screwed up. So I think my next move here is I'm going to go ahead and hook up the battery cables, see if I can't get this motor to turn over with no plugs in it. And that screwed up spark plug cylinder, number 6 over there, I'm going to see if it's even got any compression. That's going to be my next move. So in the meantime, I need to get some battery cables hooked up, and Hope it works. Who knows if this starter even works? We may end up having to pull a header to replace the starter. Yes, I know what you're thinking. You got a positive cable as your ground. But you know what? I'm using what I got. And it's as long as you know that, it's dummy. I wasn't say dummy proof, but Derek's right here.
Oh,
Do I need to rattle can this black
No.
for you so you don't mix it up?
no, dude, I know it.
Okay, I'm just saying you did.
I watched how now you did it. So
Well, you did confuse that one time. All right, so we've got it. We got the cables hooked up. We've got the power and the trigger wire for the starter. Derek's gonna go ahead and touch those two together, and then I'm gonna stick my finger in the hole that had the damaged spark plug and see if I feel any sucky and any blowy. Don't get too excited, Derek. All right, hit it. Cut. Well, even with, so that starter must be junk because it is like spinning super duper slow. And the battery's brand new. Probably should test that. Here, go ahead and test that, Derek. You know how to operate that doohickey? So if the battery is good, the starter is junk. So then we gotta put a starter in it. But I did feel some sucky and some blowy on my finger. So on that one damaged spark plug hole. So I'm assuming maybe they just damaged the plug when they were putting it in and they just never bothered to check it, because you can tell it had been running for a while on that no gapped plug. Yeah, battery's fine. Okay. All right. Dang it. I did not want to put a starter in this thing. Is it going to be a bitch to put a starter in this thing? Well, after further examination, it looks like I'm going to have to pull the torsion bar and possibly drop the drag link to get that starter out. I didn't want to do that right now. I didn't want to get under the car because it's going to be all grungy and dirty, but I'm going to have to. I'll leave Derek with the even dirtier task, though, of cleaning out the inside of this car while I go get a starter. Sucks to be you, Derek. You may not notice this, but it's dark outside. I do, however, have the replacement starter. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that guy put in, but I've got to remove the torsion bar and I've got to drop a tie rod end. And I'm hoping that's all I've got to do. And then I can hopefully snake that starter out. So I'm gonna go ahead and tackle that right now. Come on. Come on. Oh, almost. Almost. No. What is stopping? Damn it. Get him, Bolt. I think I gotta pull the lower control arm too. Dang it. So I'm thinking with the correct amount of leverage on the one header tube, I might be able to wiggle it. Dang it. Dang it. It is like right there. Come on. Aha! Ah! Correct amount of force to make this thing come out. Yes. Well, how ironic. It says, I don't know if you can read that or not, but it says replace. Man, good thing we're replacing this anyway. All the wiring is just melted. That's all bare strands showing. No wonder the starter sucks. Now you better go in without a hammer. All right, most Mopar guys probably already know this, but if you don't, this is a cheap factory mini starter. These things work awesome, even up to like 12. I've had them on 12.5-to-1 compression motors and they work just fine. And this thing right here, $78. Yep. So you can get it. This one is off of I used a 92 Dakota 318, but it's the same starter for a 6-cylinder, I think Dakota, Dodge Ram, anything up until like, I think up until about the modern Hemis. Then it's a different starter, but I always just go with 92 Dakota. Works every time. These things are awesome. And one thing I also do is I put my pigtail on there, so that when I shove it up in there, I don't have to hook up wires in between headers with wrenches and get like 1/8 of a turn at a time. So I do all that outside the car, and then I snake my wiring up through the area where it fits through the header and then up to the battery. So shove this thing in, hopefully without a hammer. This thing, oh yeah, there's plenty of room. Plenty of room. Look at that. Right, snake right in. Yeah. Oh, I like it when things are simple. All right, Bolt. All right. I'm gonna be pissed if this doesn't work. Not really anything I can do about it, but I'd be pissed. We got the new starter on. This thing better spin over like crazy. Oh yeah! That's winning. Yes! Now I'm gonna go inside, eat, take a shower, and go to bed. And fire this thing up tomorrow. It's the next day. Hopefully this thing will run today. Will it drive? I have no idea. But I'm gonna make some progress on it. The starter is in, the wires are up, I got the tie rod back on, I went ahead and put plugs in it, I got the balancer at top dead center number 1. Now I can go ahead and stab my distributor in there. I was just thinking, I want to take the distributor apart and weld up half of the mechanical advance so it has like 20 at idle. Probably about 22 at idle, 22, 23, and then 32, 34, you know, at wide or at RPM. But I don't know, maybe I'll get this thing running first, see if it's even worth taking the distributor back out and taking it apart, because it takes time to do that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stab it in, and if it runs good, then I will take this out and add some timing down low, because it will run so much better. All right, so before I put the distributor in, I got to put my drive gear back in, but I want to see where the tang ends up with my rotor. You want to kind of look at the distributor, where you want the rotor to be. So I wanted to aim at number 1. You don't have to, you can really aim it at anything, but number 1 is kind of like I don't know, like a rule of thumb. You know, the engine fires 1842652, so just go ahead and the start of the firing order, go ahead and aim it at number 1. But you can really roulette wheel it, and that's just where you start number 1 at. But we're gonna go ahead, aim it at number 1, and I know the tang, by looking at it down here, the tang is aiming, about at 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna put a little mark on the hole for the distributor, and that's where I'm gonna line up my drive gear. The tang kind of aiming that direction, at least as close as I can. Alright, all my plugs are in it. Got the distributor in it. I put the distributor in it just so that way, because I've already got it at number 1. I don't want to have to redo it. So, but I just want to see if I got a dead hole. As long as it makes an equal all the way around instead of we're good. Sounds all right. I don't hear an exact dead hole, maybe a hole that's half of what it should be, but it'll run on that. Need to find some good used plug wires in my stash here. So, we got some MSDs. Just out of curiosity, I wonder how much oil pressure we have cranking with the 0 weight oil in it. That's way better than I thought. 25 pounds with 0 weight oil in this 1976 440. So I cut the ignition box harness off of the burn part, and I was going to try and use this. But then as I was digging through my stash, I found this box with the engine harness on it. And this is just the engine harness to run the ignition. This won't run anything else, just ignition, which is what? The only thing I need. So we're gonna throw this back in the burn pile and use this guy. All right, we have a Mickey Mouse ignition wiring now. We got our coil wire, which also powers the box, and we've got our starter wire. If I plug those two together and hit it, this engine will fire up. Well, it won't fire up, but it will spin over with spark. Before I actually try and chug this thing over on starting fluid, that carburetor needs to come off because it's full of dirt. So I'm gonna pull it off, clean it out, and slap it back on. This is like one of those day 2 replacement carburetors. This has all the factory hookups that a Mopar would have with the throttle linkage and everything. So it would be nice to kind of reuse this. And by the looks of the plugs, it looks like it was running pretty good, you know, as much as it could on 7 cylinders. But I'm gonna get this guy cleaned up here and then hit it with starting fluid. And actually, I probably should just go ahead and put a fuel pump in it, because I'm pretty sure this thing's gonna run. But I'll do the starting fluid trick first. Man, this one freaking nut is a bitch to get to. Whoever designed this was stupid. There we go. All right, come with me. Well, I wasn't actually going to pull this spacer off, but I'm glad I did, because my faux 40 wouldn't have run as good with pieces of the gasket missing. There's chunks missing. Oh, this really needs a performance intake, but I'm not going to do that. This is like your typical mid-70s RV 440 intake, spread bore, with this giant booger sticking up right in front of a bore. Yeah, like what engineer decided, Hey, that's a great spot to put that. Let's put that right there. That is stupid. So I'm actually hoping this carburetor's in good shape. Like good enough to where I can just kind of throw the main gaskets in it, clean out the orifices, and just send it, because it already was set up for this engine, for that intake manifold. Run it. It's pretty clean in here, actually. Way better than I thunked it was going to be. Of course it needs accelerator pump. But look at the old school style toilet plunger. Or float. Sorry, float. Pieces of this carburetor are just gonna have to soak. The gaskets are so rock hard, so old. I mean, it's like trying to scrape stucco off of them to get the gaskets off. So we're gonna let those soak in hot water and soften up the gaskets, because, yeah, I'm just over that right now. But in the meantime, I have cleaned up. Ugh. See, See that valve cover that I took off of the driver's side? Well, I went ahead and pulled it back off, and I cleaned up the surface, got all that. I mean, they must have used an entire tube of silicone on this one valve cover. So I've got it all cleaned up. I was gonna go put it on, but then I realized I don't have any gaskets. So I've got to run to the store anyway. But before I do, I'm gonna take this fuel pump off and make sure that the replacement fuel pump I have actually fits there. This little cheapy Napa fuel pump will be plenty to support all of that 220 horsepower. I think it was 220. Does it say on here? No. So if you're ever in a situation where you're fighting the fuel pump rod, it keeps sliding down as you're trying to shove the fuel pump in, just go ahead and take some thick grease, lather it on that thing, shove that guy up in the hole, and the thicker grease will help delay its sliding down time. Oh yeah, it's down to a crawl now. So now I'll be able to slip that guy up in there. Stupid busted finger. Dang it, I don't know if this fuel pump's gonna work. The outlet is aimed right at the frickin' water inlet. Ah, stupid truck water pumps. None of my gaskets will work. This is one of those oddball, like OEM, Holley, like upgraded kind of carburetors. And parts are near impossible to get. I can order the stuff to make this carburetor work, but who knows when it'll show up. And I want to make the thing run now, so plan B. The Elbrock Performer 440. This is a pretty old intake too, and it accommodates the factory, the heat riser for the choke. But far, far better intake than that dinosaur cast iron with the big old booger on the one blade. So I should have just done this in the first place. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, dumbass, you should have just done that in the first place. And I know I should have just done that in the first place. But I was trying to just use what was on the car so I didn't have to go and buy anything. And then, well, turns out that's all junk or outdated crap and I can't get parts for it. So Yanked out an aluminum intake. We're gonna pull this crap off, put that crap on. Way betters. So I'm kind of glad to be rid of this guy. Plus, this is horsepower gains. Ah! You are now free of this. Holy crap! Oh, it's lifting my ass off the ground. California felt that. If the cylinder heads did have some work done to it, it had some work done to it, and then a lot more miles got put on top of it, because the intake valves are obvious oil burner intake valves. So there's crusted oil all over the top of the intake valve on all of them. I think this guy owns stock in red silicone. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, I couldn't afford the actual soundtrack, but this thing will bring death to anyone who lines up against it, either by losing or by stuff falling off of it. Man, does this thing look so much better in here with this intake manifold. It gives the illusion of speed under here, but this still is a 76 motorhome / truck 440. Everything underneath this. So maybe we went from 220 to 230. Yeah, speed. I present to you the replacement QFT aluminum 750 vacuum secondary carburetor. A follower actually gave me this carburetor because he couldn't figure it out. It had a funky metering block to it. Like on the primary circuit, it had no power valve, and they had done some extra drilling and some extra orifices, and I was like, yeah, that crap's got to go. So we have a Proform metering block in there. I pulled some of the emulsions out of this, put it in there to where it should be fairly close to what it would need. And I found a fuel rail for it. Now I just need to hook up the fuel rail and drop it on, and this thing just gained all kinds of cool factor and horsey powers. Man, that's one thing that sucks about these 3rd gen chargers. It's just the distance between the engine and the front bumper is so much longer than a 2nd gen charger, which what I'm used to, or a B-body in general from 70 previous. You need that extra reach, go gadget, extend arm to drop the carburetor off. I kind of figured that was going to happen. So I've got issues I can see. The fuel rail is hitting the heat riser. So these intake manifolds were not set up to run Hollies. How much of that heat riser am I going to have to cut off? It looks like right after the bolt hole needs to get sawed off. And then we're still going to need a carb spacer. But doesn't this look so pretty under here? Ugh. Okay. Luckily at like your local AutoZone or O'Reilly's you can still get carburetor spacers. I didn't want to put a big one on there, so what I found was like this 3/8 thick Elbrock spacer, which is also the gasket. You know, it's kind of basically, it's just an ultra thick gasket, it's all it is. But that will go on there, and that'll give me my clearance that I need for the accelerator pump on the front and the rear. Well, it's a vacuum secondary, so there's no accelerator pump on the rear, which I guess that means my light's going dead. Man, it's so far. Hopefully it fits. All right, my fuel rail hits the intake manifold bare. Actually, you know what? If I hit it, then it taps it. But it's like got like probably 30 thousandths, which that'll work. I can bend that up. Other than that, that is going to work. So we go get that carburetor bolted down. And now I got to find a new spot to mount my coil. Hey, look, Derek showed up again. He was absent yesterday. The police was looking for him, the parole officer, so he was hiding at his house the whole day. And we are finally going to hear this thing fire up for the first time since the last time it ran. I don't know when that was. I'm hoping everything is good. I know we have great oil pressure. And I don't know too much about the carburetor. But I'm thinking this thing should fire right up. I've got the timing marker set. Everything should be good to go. So less bullshit. More hitting buttons and making it turn. Oh, almost forgot. Got to hook up the fuel system. So I got a, you know, what is this? A 3-gallon fuel cell, which fuel jug, down in the front of this, or front of the body, which in between the core support and the bumper, there's like this much space. Imagine the intercooler and the turbo system you could stuff down in there. But dangling fuel line with a 3-gallon jug works just fine too. Got my adjustomatic screwdriver just in case. Let's go ahead and hook up the power. Key on, which is the green wire. I hear the ignition box making electrical noises. All right, Derek. Here we go. Ooh, too much timing. Let's go ahead and back it off a little bit. Should kick off now. Did you hear something? Yeah. I thought I heard something inside the motor. That didn't sound good. Let me look at. Let's raise the RPM a little bit here. All right, here we goes. Well, the oil pressure jumped to 40 pounds instantly, but I don't know. It doesn't sound good. Key off. Alright, well, we cranked it enough to where we're getting fuel. There's fuel in the bowls now. We have fuel pressure. But I gotta figure out where they... It can't be a rod knock. It can't be a bearing because the oil pressure is good. Like, at idle, it's like 55, 60 pounds. In order for this thing to be clattering and knocking like that so bad, this thing would have to have no oil pressure, or like 5 to 10 pounds. So I'm thinking maybe the crankshaft, because this car is obviously bottomed out. The headers are flattened, the oil pan's flattened, the K-frame is damaged. The K-frame's not bad, but you can tell it had bottomed out. So I'm thinking maybe the oil pan, because it's crushed a little bit, that the pickup tube might have hit the crankshaft. So I'm gonna fire it up again and then stick my hand on the oil pan, see if I can feel it going. So here we go. Now, how much of a pain in the ass is it going to be to fix that? So there's two ways I can go about this. One, I drop the whole K-frame with the suspension to get access to the oil pan. Or two, pull the engine. The benefits, pros and cons. So the pro on just dropping the K-frame, it's easier and the oil pan will be fully accessible, and I can do that right there. The cons, it still sucks, but have to undo the steering column, upper control arm, ball joints, disconnect the power steering hoses, and I have to make a cradle to hold the engine in place since there's not going to be a subframe underneath it to hold it in place. If we pull the engine, what sucks about that is having to deal with exhaust, flex, or the torque converter, bell housing bolts, and then, but if it's on the engine stand, oil pan is easy to fix. And then while it's on the engine stand, we can check out the timing chain because it's all right there, and might as well just look at it, check out the timing chain. And while it's out, I've got cams. I might be able to just slap a cam in it. So may have to flip a coin on this one. All right, it's decision making time. Motor, suspension. Motor it is. Okay. Derek, you feel like yanking an engine out? But since the motor's coming out, maybe we can slap a slightly bigger bump stick in it and check out the condition of the timing chain. Yay! Bit of leverage fixes everything. Marketplace got me again. This did not go as planned. Go! That can go badly. At least it's a good way to clean the engine bay. And now we can clean the engine. Except for duct tape drags, you kind of want to make it look grungy. So I think we'll just blow the loose dirt off of it and leave it all grungy looking. And I'm sure by the awesome mechanical skills that were done to this thing that I have seen, I'm probably going to find a few sketchy things inside the engine, which, glad it came out. Didn't want to, but glad it came out. Now, are we going to add some horsey powers? Are we going to get it actually running and perform good? Is it even going to make it back in the car the same engine? Things I don't know yet, but I'm going to try. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and get this thing on the engine stand, and you'll have to tune in for the next episode to see if we actually build this engine, replace the engine, make it faster, get it back in time to even make it to Duct Tape Drags. Not as planned at all. Stupid 440. Yeah, I do not know what's going to happen under the hood of this car. but I do know it's going to have a brand new drive shaft going in it, courtesy of Dan's Driveline. They just called me, and I'm going to go pick it up in the morning, and I'm going to be taking Smurf. I haven't driven that car all summer. I'm so used to having engines and no drive shafts. Now having drive shafts and no engines just seems weird. Smurf hasn't been out all summer because it's been too hot and it's got electric fans and they kind of suck. But Rick has got my drive shaft done. This is from Dan's Driveline. They do all my stuff. I break a lot of stuff, so they take care of me. Go ahead and set this in the trunk. What is with the chain? Oh, the only thing you can do is iron intake manifold. Is use them as anchors. Another marketplace score. Well, that is the end of this episode, but it is not the end of this car. There's still much more to do to this thing and more episodes on it. I'm actually kind of digging this car. And another thing you might dig is junkerupgarage.com. I've got all kinds of, well, not all kinds, but I have merch in the works. Right now there is the Super Beater t-shirt with the safety ratchet strap seatbelt on the bottom. Also stickers, decals, koozies, and also I'm going to be throwing up odds and end pieces from my cars of stuff that I have broken, destroyed, worn out, whatever. So you always need to check the store because there's always new things that pop up. Hell, there may even be a car that pops up on there. You never know. So just frequently check that out, junkerupgarage.com. Everything helps, and I'm greatly appreciated for all you guys do, even just watching this show and watching this channel. See you guys.